Everyone, you can all hear me fine right there? Okay, cool. Let's get started. I'll start by introducing our guests here today. So, my left, Clem. Clem's from Grafton and running her first marathon here this weekend. And she has our 16 to 19 year record in the half marathon from last year. Next to Clem is Annabelle. Annie is running her first full marathon as well this year, for flat marathon, and is also a local coach and looking and taking on 100k in 2 weeks' time. Next to Annie is Dan. I've got a long spiel about what Dan's got coming up. We'll save that for a bit, but Dan's just jogging this one on the weekend. Are you running? You are running this weekend. Yeah. Cool. But he's also won the 10k and the 5k outright in past years as well. Next to Dan is another Dan. Dan's running on the half. Pretty going to be leading the field, I reckon. Going to give it a good crack. I got his time to beat from when he won it 10 years ago. So Dan will be competitive in the half. And next to Dan is Bruce. Bruce is running the full marathon as well. Bruce is, I'm really looking forward to hearing about Bruce, how he's going to tackle that. So who's got the other mic? Oh, Annie. Oh, I guess I'm picking on you first. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so first question to Annie. So Annie, you ran our backyard ultra here, like, what's that now, 3-4 months ago. So you ran up and down a creek track for 24 hours, finishing second in the backyard ultra. So you know the track pretty well, you would say. And you also did the triple 2 or 3 years ago and won that. What do you like about running around the Coffs Creek walkway and this course?
Hello?
Yeah.
So it's such an iconic part of Coffs Coast, the walkway. I pretty much run it every single week, so I still haven't gotten sick of it. There's nice bushland with the creek and the vegetation. It's cool, nice and cool, and easy running on the paths, just the right amount of turns, and I just really enjoy it. And every time, I haven't gotten sick of it yet, so I'll keep coming and do more creek laps.
And how are you going to tackle the course? Because there's some faster sections, some slower sections. Could you talk through people what to expect out there on the course?
Yeah, so depending on what distance you do, all the distances do some part of the creek loop. I would expect, if you've done a road race of a similar distance, it will be a little bit slower naturally because of the turns and terrain. So keep that into consideration of whatever pace you're aiming for. And the turns itself, that can lose some time as well. But the hills can be pinchy but small. There's a few dips down like Hogman Drive where the bridge is going across. There's quite a steep descent in the ascent. Just be mindful of those bits, not trying to injure yourself as you go down and up. And then the promenade too is probably the biggest hill where it's a bit exposed in the sun as well. So take advantage of the shade if it's a sunny day, especially if you're doing the marathon a bit later in the day, and stay hydrated.
And how are you planning to pace this one? It's your first road marathon. You talk through your goals for this event. You've got a 100 kilometre 2 weeks later, so it's not a race for you. So how are you going to tackle the run this weekend?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a challenge training-wise, training both for this marathon and for a hilly 100k in 2 weeks' time. So I've kind of devised, I've been doing an N-of-1 experiment on myself with my training. I quite enjoy doing this to myself and seeing what works, what doesn't. So I had a specific marathon block about 6 weeks ago now, and then finished those few weeks, then went to more hilly training leading into this. So a bit of an unconventional taper. Pacing wise, not going out too hard at the beginning. I found using heart rates really helpful to just help get my effort into line with what's actually happening in my body. So having some limits there for the first half marathon, and then pushing myself hard for the second half.
Cool. All right, pass the mic on. Dan, you're up. I haven't spoken much to you, Dan, so I'm keen to hear what you ran this year. I've heard you're focusing more on the 800 now. What's been happening this year, and some big news as well with coming up as well. Could you talk to that?
So up until about half a year ago, I always considered myself to be sort of a 100 metre runner, but December, I did a good 800. I ran a 1:47, which gave me the world lead for my age that year. And then I went over to Bali. I got Bali belly and lost a few kilos, and I think that jump started my season that I just had. So I went on to run Adelaide with Pete Bolt for the first time. That was the one where I overtook him with 200 metres to go, and I had about 10 seconds of fame there in front of him. And then that's pretty much when conversations with On did start. I met Craig Mottram over there and started talking with him about the sponsorship that I now have. And then about a month later, I went on to run Sydney Track Classic, and I ran a 1:45, which gave me the world lead for my age, and this year as well. And pretty much a month after that, I signed up in an NIL deal, which gives me the ability to college still and run for the brand, but also run for the college. That deal sees me through to about August of next year. So I have some races coming up, planned up, some goals as well. So the next few months is sort of just a big training block, leading up into November, December, where I'll have my opener, thinking maybe a 400 to mix it up a little bit, see how that goes. And then all the way from, January through to April, it's domestic races, so those track classics in the major cities, where I'll hopefully try to replicate what I did this year, maybe improve a little bit, and make the team over to World Juniors, which is in Oregon next year. And if I do really well, possibly Com Games, which, the qualifying times have just come out, and a little under a second off that one. So, not too much to make up, so hopefully training and next season goes well, and we'll just see where it goes.
And you've got how many more years in, technically junior, and then are you in open? Sorry, how old are you right now? And what you said a world lead in what age? And then when you're going over to America, what are you looking for in terms of the colleges, and maybe talk about how that will go down for you? Because
well, I'm currently 18. My birthday was about a month ago now. But I am junior, so junior is under 20. So 2026 will be my last year. So next year is the last year I am a junior. So I'll be the top age over in Oregon if I do make that team. With the whole college thing, I've been looking for the past year. After World Juniors, which I went over to last year in Peru, I did the 15. And I went to University of North Carolina, which is where Michael Jordan went, so that was pretty cool. That was a great experience. And recently, in June of this year, I went over to Texas for another visit over there, and that was awesome. And I'm planning to do another one, see a few more colleges when I finish my HSC in November. But in terms of what I'm looking for, I would say the most important thing is the climate. I think there's a lot of great programs out there, but coming from Coffs, I think I do need something a little bit more warm. I've had conversations with colleges that are based in snowy, mountainous regions, but I just don't think that would do me much good. So, I think the terrain and everything of Texas with that climate and heat, I think that'll suit me a lot more. So, that would probably be the biggest priority for me. But then there's also things like the program, their history. Texas A&M, they actually won the 800 title this year. You can't look too far past that. And yeah, also it's just the academic opportunity over there as well. Like I'll be able to get a degree out of that, and hopefully I'm looking for something that'll just transfer over to Australia pretty easily. And yeah, I mean, apart from that, I haven't thought too much on it. It's still in the future, so yeah, excited for that chapter though.
And are you finished now with the studies in year 12? What are we in September? So you've had trials. Have you had HSC proper?
No, not yet. So that'll start in October, and then C3, yeah, pretty much the start of November. And then I think the flight's booked for the day I finish pretty much, so straight over to US.
How do you balance, like, you know, year 12, you've got, you know, exams and everything coming up, and with the training, what does a kind of training week look like for you? And has that changed since you've dropped to kind of 800, like dropping in the distance as well?
I'd say I'm probably a bit better at running than school, so I mean, that side of things, I don't have to balance an awful lot. But yeah, I mean, I've had the same structure since I joined my coach Andrew Rawlings about 5 years ago. I mean, nothing's changed. Obviously the sets have intensity in Ks, but I mean, in terms of weekly structure, everything's still the exact same. And I think that's sort of that idea of like consistency. I've just been sort of digging away at it for the past 5 years, and I mean, last season was a result of that. But I mean, Monday I do nothing. That's sort of just a rest day. I'm supposed to stretch and stuff, but I get a bit lazy. And then Tuesday I do the morning set at 6 a.m. with a lot of you here, so that's usually around 10Ks, more that aerobic, longer stuff, more long for me. And then Wednesday's just a jog, usually half an hour, just give me 6Ks, nothing crazy. I'll do that in the afternoon after school. And then Thursday we have a little speed group up there. That's more, the 300 reps, the stuff I like a bit more. Yeah, just more touching on that speed. Friday's similar to Monday, don't do a lot. Saturday, pretty much a replica of Thursday, but just in the morning. So yeah, the main sets for me are those Thursday, Saturday. Those are the painful ones. And then Sunday's usually just a long jog, maybe chuck in some drills or some hills. So I mean, I think you can get away with not doing an awful lot when you're an 800 metre runner. Like my mileage, I'll do between 30 to 40 Ks, I mean, most weeks. And like Pete Bowl, he'll do similar, maybe 40 to 50. Peyton Craig's around that 50. I mean, there's a few ways you can look at it at 800, but I think you can get away with doing under 50 Ks a week pretty easily. Yeah.
Cool. Might go on to Dan. How does 50 Ks a week sound to you, Dan? Dan's just come off UTA 100, where he placed 4th. Oh, no, that was the year before. 6th. Something in the top 10, and then you rolled on and did Gold Coast Mara, and now you dropping to some more speed again. Talk through how you are balancing your more trail stuff in recent years with the road running, but you're also you set a half marathon PB earlier this year, was it? Or something last year? Yeah. Well, you're setting PBs in the road. 10 years on since you last did this one, so talk through how that's changed over the years for you.
Is that it? Yeah. Well, originally I come from triathlon background, so I had a fair bit of training under my belt for 10 or 15 years, so I guess I had a lot of fitness behind me, and then trail running sort of came on the scene, got popular in the 2020. Running with these guys around here, and then that's sort of been the focus the last 5 years. It's been a bit of riding here and there, but mainly running, so a lot more focus on getting more Ks in during the week. So when you say I set some PBs, that's because I wasn't focused on running over those triathlon years. So my PBs weren't that quick. Just getting into more running later in life, focusing on the roads, enjoying a lot more. And still setting PBs, which is always nice, and I still think there's a couple of years left in the legs to get a few more PBs. And then from the trail running side, that kind of came about with COVID. I think a lot of people started to get out and see the outdoors a bit more and enjoy the trails, and there's a great community. so that always helps. And I think as you get older, you start to do the longer distance events. You tend to do a bit, do better, as you do get older. And fortunately, all that triathlon's paid off, and I do have a fair bit of fitness under my belt. As Dan said, consistency. 5 years for you, it's about 25 years for me. So that sort of, that aerobic base is there, and obviously, the longer you go, the more that comes into play.
So Dan won our half about 10 years ago on a different course. Now we're running out around the jetty. You ran that one in about 1:15. I looked it up, but I know you've done around 1:10 for a half. How do you think this course would go compared to some of your other times that you've run? What are you expecting out there, and how are you going to pace it?
Hello.
You doing that to me?
Sometimes it's just like the angle that you have it. Like if, I don't know if it's...
This way, there we go. I don't think it'll be a PB. I'm not in shape either, and the course I don't think is designed for PBs. I think it'll be, my plan is around 1:13. I think that's, what I'm hoping. The course, as I said, it's got fast sections through the middle when we head out towards the harbour, the jetty, the south. So you could, you'd be moving pretty quickly there, but I think, around the creek, obviously, as Annie said, it isn't fast running. You do have to be careful with. I think it'll be somewhere between 1:10 to 1:15. I think 1:13 is about where I'll be at.
Are you going for super shoes?
Yes, definitely. There's enough there that I think the super shoes will save a bit of time.
All right, I might jump to Bruce then. I've got more questions, but we'll go through. So we're already at 3:20. Bruce, you've run around this course many times. It's your local track. 2 years ago, I said, why don't you try go for the 70 record in the half? You did that, and then I said, well, next year you got to do 2 records in 1, and you did that. You got the 10 and the 5 last year, and you're running the marathon. But there is someone else in your age group too, so you might not have it all your own way. But the last time you ran a marathon, talk us through that. Where was it? How did it go? And what's inspired you to do another one 35 years later?
Yeah.
Do you want to try mine? I'll turn off this. Alright, try that.
Oh.
We'll swap you up. I'm not sure it's about distance.
Oh, that sounds better. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, as you say, Keelan, the last time I ran a marathon was 35 years ago. And I was just thinking the other day that there'll be a number of people running the marathon tomorrow that weren't even born when I ran my last one. So that's a bit of a sobering thought for me.
That includes me.
So, the last one I ran was in 1990, and that was in Christchurch, New Zealand, and I broke 2 hours 30. I think it was 2:27, I think, for that marathon. But the reason I'm wanting to run it this year is because it is the first one. It's the first one in Coffs Harbour. It's an iconic course. I think the course is fantastic. Keelan's done a great job of getting all the local authorities and the police and so on to agree to this particular course. I just think it's a fabulous course.
Check. And can you talk to how you've been, how do you... Sorry, check. One thing I've noticed is you don't have a watch. Have you ever run really with a watch? How do you train for a sub 2:30 marathon without wearing a watch or any training tool, and how do you keep training now? Like, how have you been training? Can you talk through your training kind of approach and philosophy to that?
Yeah, well, my approach to not wearing a watch is because I want to be very aware of my body. Although having said that, tomorrow I may well start with a watch, and that's mainly because I don't want to go out too fast. So I want to be ensure that the first couple of kilometres are at a slightly slower pace. And so, but then after that I'll probably ditch the watch because I want to really focus on my body, and I think that's really important for me. I have occasionally run with a watch, but not very often. And I've never run with a heart rate monitor, so I've no idea what my heart rate gets to. But my training philosophy, I don't think I've changed that at all very much over the years. The only thing that's really changed is that as I've grown older, my rate of recovery is not so quick. So I've had to incorporate that into the training so that I can't go and, at one stage I used to run twice a day. I can't do that anymore. I can run at least twice a week. So that's the main thing I've changed is the amount of recovery that I take. And that, of course, means that I'm not able to do the intensity of what I used to.
Hello. There we go. And in terms of recovery, how do you do intervals or some Fartlek type workout? If you don't say have a watch, how do you incorporate your intensity into your run? Has that changed, and what are the considerations now? You're been training for this, compared to when you ran 35 years ago in terms of like structure and weekly intensity and Ks and things like that. Could you talk to that?
Yeah, well, really marathons aren't really my thing. In fact, when I was running, I ran 5 marathons up until 1990, and I'd have to say I didn't really enjoy them at all. So I started off running marathons, and then one year I discovered that I had a bit of speed. Not as much as this guy, but I did start running 800s and 1500s and so on, and that got me into doing interval work and so on. So running, for example, occasionally 20 by 400 metres and so on. Nowadays I can't do that. I can't run 400 metres at the same rate that I used to, so I cut down my intervals down. I now do around about 250, 300 metres, and I only do about half a dozen instead of 20. So that's the main thing. But for a marathon, I haven't been doing that sort of stuff. A few weeks ago, I was running a few intervals of around about a kilometre or so. But again, I don't think, at my age anyway, I need that speed. What I need now is mainly perseverance and patience and persistence.
Well, you certainly got all of that. I know that. Do you want to pass the mic back down to Clem? Clem, welcome. Could you talk through? This is your first marathon, but not your first actual marathon distance. You've joined us before on the beer run, which you weren't drinking, underage. And also you ran our Washpool 50k this year, because a lot of other marathons haven't. You have to be 18 to enter. But I know that you've been running consistently for a long time. Could you talk through how did you start kind of running, getting into it, and then also running quite high Ks, what's your motivation behind running so much? Talk to that.
My mum's a runner, and she has done about 3 or 4 marathons in her past. So I was younger, and I used to do like the 2 or 3 Ks at the Jack-a-Thon run, which is in Grafton, which is where I'm from. So I do that, and then I think I just fell in love with it, I think. and I started getting into a bit more distance, and I went to a Grafton Park run, and then I met a few people there, and then I started doing the Sunday long run, which we have in Grafton once a week. And then, I just started doing a lot more social running, and then got into Strava, and then, from there I kind of got hooked, and then, just started signing up for events, and then, just started getting the Ks up.
And you definitely got the Ks up. There's not many people who run more than 100 Ks, 100 miles a week, let alone under, been doing that since you were 15 or so. That's quite amazing. And a lot of the time around the streets of Grafton. So you've got some mental fortitude in the middle of summer to run around the streets of Grafton.
Thank you.
Every week. What do you have? What gets you running, like up and running like type of Ks, and what do and do you have a rough plan when you run each week, or are you kind of run to feel and what social runs and things are on?
Well, in Grafton we have a lot of different group runs. So we have the Benbridge Run Club on Wednesday, and that's a 5k run over our Grafton bridges and over the Current River. And so we have that, and then a few guys and I do a pre-run before, which is good, so it's good to get the Ks up there. And then on Saturday we have park run at Grafton, obviously, and then we have the Sunday long run, which is really good because you can do the 15k with the group, which is a full outline of the town, and then you can add Ks before and after, which is really easy to get your Ks up through there. And I just love the grit of running, which is what keeps me going, I think, and just how I love the end of runs and how you have to really persevere and just and I love running with friends too. I have a few good friends that run. One of my friends and I did a marathon block at the start of the year for about 6 months, and it was a very big block, lots of intervals, lots of speed, and I trained with her, and that was really awesome. We did 3 times a week running together all the time, and that was really fun. Just the community is really good, and also just I just love the feeling afterwards. It's really rewarding, and
And is there any, so this is your first kind of really continuous marathon, though you've done plenty of long kind of training runs and stuff. How do you approach your, when you go out there, what will you eat and drink and how do you tackle that on the day?
Well, in the marathon, I love to negative split. I don't really I usually I was just saying that from before the 30k mark, I'll probably be feeling very bad, and from 30k to 42, I always love it. I just love just longer distances. But in terms of fueling, I don't fuel a lot, I'd say, but I drink a lot of water, and I just like to rely on water and gels mainly. I don't usually do a lot of other stuff.
Cool. Might be a question for each of you on that nutrition, and so maybe one at a time, although I know you're not racing Dan yourself, but Annie, what are you taking out there tomorrow on the marathon? Fueling, nutrition?
So I always say practice what you do in training, and in training I'm a big advocate for high carb fueling. Not only does it help your race performance, but it also helps recovery afterwards, feeling less beat up in the legs. It can make a big difference to have quick turnarounds, which is what I need doing 100k in 2 weeks. So I'll be aiming for about 90 grams of carbs an hour, which I find is no problem in my training and races I've done so far this year. So I get that with precision hydration, the big jumbo gels. They're very handy because they're exactly 90 grams. So you just pop one of those an hour and that's job done. I've also been doing the nutrition. Keelan and I did this Byron Rainforest run this year, and we both won our events and got these reusable gel flasks. So they're great because you then don't use any plastic, and you can just reuse the gel. So I got one of those pH 90s and Trail Root, which is just a powder with electrolytes in it.
And we also have Enduro electrolytes out on course at the jetty. and also at the showground for those who pass through the second and third time in the marathon. So there is electrolytes out there as well. Dan, can you get away with eating whatever you want, or you tighten up your diet as you're gearing up for world champs and things like that?
I'm pretty loose on the eating side of things, you could say. But for me, it sort of starts, I'd say 3 days before. I'll start to try and tidy up my lunchbox and stuff then. Just include a lot more carbs. Not as much junk really. But I don't really know all the metrics. I mean, I do have a dietitian and he sort of writes me a plan. So that starts those 3 days out. But really, I think it's, just eating quite a lot. Like my race weight, I will find will be quite a lot heavier than the weight I'll be holding throughout training. I think that's just through proper hydration as well. Like those 3 days leading up also, I'll drink a lot of water and put a lot of electrolytes in that. And then, race day food, it really depends what time I run, but I pretty much eat the same stuff like every single time. I mean, in the morning, it'll probably just be some Just Right usually. Then I get a Yo Pro with some raspberries. And then lunch would just be white bread and tuna. Just very plain foods that I found have worked for me. More protein, not as much carbs on the day of the race. And then, I don't eat an awful lot on race day. I don't want to have too much bouncing around in there. That's why I like racing in the morning as well, because you don't have to think about that as much. I find that almost the most stressful part of the day, just trying to get the timing right. And getting what you're eating right as well.
I'm curious, there's different things out there for to take before your runs, like bicarb is like something. Have you experimented with any different types of things before racing?
Like Annie said, you should always practice things before you do them for the first time in a race. So I did practice caffeine, I tried that. It didn't really react too well with me. I tried the strips. I think they are 100 milligrams. I just had 2 of those before some training races and just didn't feel very good during the races. So I think out of all those small percentage cheat codes, I guess, caffeine is the biggest one. Bicarb is something I'll look into this season. Also beetroot juice, funny enough, that's also just a very small, but I mean, it all adds up. Out of all those, I haven't really delved into those too much. But definitely this season coming, I'll look into a bit more.
I'm sure it's something you'll come across racing in college. That'll be interesting. Dan, what are you taking out there tomorrow? Are you taking anything out there? An hour 12, you'll probably get away with nothing, but you will have something, or?
Yeah, I will. I wasn't sure. I was thinking the same thing. Maybe I'll just, I won't bother. But I just bought some gels across the road actually before I came here. Just 2 30-gram gels, so I'll just do them at 20 and 40 minutes, something like that, so not too stressful.
What did you take your 100k UTA in the Blue Mountains? What did you have?
Oh God, a lot. I think over a kilo of sugar across the whole race. I think it was about 135 grams per hour. I think it worked out in the end, so about 70 to 80 bucks worth of sugar, basically. Expensive sugar it was, precision hydration as well, so it was all the 90-gram bags, just whatever that is, 1.5 I think I worked out, 1.5 an hour I was taking. So and I felt fine to be honest. That got me, I never had a low, and my guts are pretty strong now, so they can take anything, and caffeine as well. I took caffeine.
Has that changed over time since when you did tries?
As in the amount?
No, the fueling approach. Like if you were to do a half Ironman versus now that you go do a trail race, do you think you're approaching it differently, or is it just different because you got swim, bike, run?
It definitely take more. Like I used to take, I reckon, maybe 60 grams an hour back in the day, and that probably explains why I didn't recover well some races and felt pretty hard. I mean, they always feel hard, but I think now I tend to recover a lot better in races. Obviously a bit older, maybe that not more trained, but I think it has changed definitely in the last 5 years with a lot more carbs during the races. Definitely help a lot more. So.
And Bruce, what about yourself? Interested to hear.
Well, tomorrow I'm taking with me water and mixed in with electrolytes and so on, so I'll be having that. And just on that, one of the things I would say is that if you're doing a marathon, then drink early. If you wait until you're thirsty, it's too late. But otherwise, in terms of nutrition, I've been doing the classic carbohydrate loading for the last 3 days. And tomorrow morning, I'll probably around about 2 hours before the marathon, so about 4 o'clock in the morning, I'll have a mentioned white bread, honey and a banana, and I'll probably have another banana before I start. So that's basically the nutrition.
Okay, just looking at the time, might open to some questions from the audience. Has anyone got a question they'd like to ask one of our panelists? Yeah. Got a question, August?
Come on. I do.
You got a question?
I do.
All right.
Hey guys. Firstly, thank you for taking the time this afternoon up here. Closer. Okay. 2 questions. First, if I change my name to Dan, do I get to run quicker? And then, in terms of your time, and we're hearing about competing priorities and various team runners at different parts of your career. If you had to choose between stretching, flexibility, or strength, which one would you pick and why?
Well, that is also something I'm going to start doing this season. I've recently joined the New South Wales Institute of Sport, so through that I will get a strength routine. I mean, I can barely touch past my knees when I try to touch my toes, so I'm not very flexible. But for my event, it's definitely that power, so that strength. I think stretching, overstretching could almost be a bad thing. I just think when that power comes and when I need it most, at 200 metres to go, when you really have to hit it and accelerate, I think having strong and tight muscles helps a lot more there. I mean, it's probably not good how tight I am, but I find especially in my event, everyone is a little bit more stiff in their running compared to say a 10K, where I think that balance is a bit more needed. But I think the only time you really have to start worrying about that stretching and flexibility is injury. And I've been really lucky with that. I've never had a real major injury. But yeah, for my event, I would definitely say the power side of things. Yeah.
I think all of it's important. I wouldn't say one in particular. I do a bit of everything, to be honest. Maybe earlier on, there was less emphasis on all of that. It was just training, go out and train. But I think, being a physiotherapist as well, I understand the benefits of all the different parts and how they all help out. And then maybe in the last 5-10 years, strength training has been a bigger part, just because you're losing that. You lose your strength and power as you get older, so trying to maintain it as high as possible for as long as possible. That's sort of my goal. That's been sort of the priority all along, try to maintain as long as I can. I'm hopefully going to have another, God knows how many years running. Hopefully as old as Bruce, keep it going as long as I can, so I'm trying to keep a balance of everything.
Bruce.
I guess I've never really done strength training, but the only strength training I really do, well, I suppose it is strength training, but it's a little bit different, is that I'll go and do hill bounding, for example, or running up sand hills, rather than getting in the gym and pushing weights and so on. I don't like getting into a gym. My gym's out there. And as for stretching, I'm a bit like Daniel. I'm really inflexible. And I can remember about 2 years ago to think I need to stretch my hamstrings. And if you know that classic sort of thing of this, and then stretching, I could get to about there. And that's about 2 years ago. Now I can get almost to the floor. I just enjoy the running side of things. I don't want to go and muck it up with strength training and all of that sort of stuff.
Running sandhills, that's very Percy, Centuria vibes there. Annie?
So, I always advise strength training is good for runners. Generally working with endurance athletes, it's mainly for injury prevention and to have longevity of running. Personally, when I started to strength train about 5 years ago, it solved all my reoccurring knee ITB band syndrome sort of niggles that kept popping up, and then I was like, oh, actually I should do what the physio says and go to the gym and start lifting the weights and building up the strength, and since then it's been a lot better. So anecdotally it works, and from the people I've seen do it, I've seen good success with it. Stretching is less obvious link in my opinion. I think focusing on relaxation and bringing down stress levels. So if stretching is a way for you to relax personally, that's good. If it makes you feel good, keep doing it. I like to do activities like yin yoga, that sort of more release of the fascia, and it's also a mind thing as well, mentally trying to just let go, and having those sort of moments in your day and week. And getting lots of sleep is very important.
I think, personally for me, I think strength training helps me a bit more than stretching. I used to be a dancer when I was younger, so I had a lot of flexibility from that. And as soon as my mileage started increasing, I lost pretty much all of that. And I noticed that very quickly. It happened so quick. So I've been trying to get into a bit more stretching lately, because I find especially like when I am running probably more than 130 plus Ks a week, I just find especially my hamstring are extremely tight. So I really try and focus on that. And also I find swimming is really good for recovery. So I almost think, I probably prefer swimming over strength training. And when I am doing strength training, I prefer to do body weight exercises, just because I feel like I am very young and I don't want to put too much pressure on my muscles, because I'm already doing so much mileage. And I feel that if I do any more and put any more pressure on my legs particularly, I just feel like it might be a bit much. So I do a lot of body weight exercises and swimming, cycling, and still a bit of dance here and there, which I still think is it's a lot of movement and like mobility in your muscles. So even like doing dance workouts at home, I do a lot during the week, really helps a lot.
All very good answers there. Any other questions? Or I've got a couple. Go on, Keith.
You've just touched on. Yes. You've just touched on cross training. Does, apart from group, anybody else do cross training to prevent injury and keep the fitness? And is anybody else looking to negative split tomorrow?
Personally for me, I'm definitely looking to do a negative split tomorrow. I think in the first half, the jetty part, I think I'm going to take it very conservatively. I'm not racing tomorrow anyway, like going for a really quick PB. However, I am just hoping to go about just pretty much on feel. So I'd say the first half definitely very conservatively, and then especially the last lap of the creek, I'm thinking of really revving it up. So that's my pacing strategy, I think, for tomorrow.
Cross-training, great for a lot of people, especially older athletes who can't handle the running loads that maybe they used to handle in their early 20s. I am 30, so I find I can handle quite a lot of running volume at this stage of my life. So to maximise that time I have, with work and all that, I generally do more running at the moment than cross-training, although I used to do a bit more cross-training when, as I said, my ITB issues a few years ago, the way to ease into the running space, I did a lot more biking and swimming. That's kind of gone to the wayside a bit now, to be honest. I would say it's a time restraint more than anything. What was the other question? Oh, negative split. I'm trying not to focus too much on pace, and instead just the feel and heart rate. So I'll see if it's a negative split. It might be.
I think cross-training is great, especially for those events, probably 5 to 10,000. I see a lot of people become very successful when they put that in their training. Like the girl who won the NCAA, so that's the college system, their track, she would have been doing about 20-30 Ks of running per week, and she won the 10,000 meters, but the rest of her stuff was pretty much just on an elliptical or in the pool. So I think over those distances, maybe 5-10,000, where it is a lot to do with that just base fitness and I guess aerobic strength more side of things. But for my event, not so much, because I think it's just the power and really, that pace side of things. And I'm not too sure about the longer runs though, I'd probably say.
Well, coming from triathlon, I've done a ton of cycling in my life and I still enjoy it. It's just about time these days. I did do a big block of cycling earlier this year before UTA and had a huge sort of base of fitness, but it didn't really go as well with the running, so I just didn't have that endurance, that obviously the weight bearing component of running. My legs sort of, compared to last year when I was running a lot more, I had a lot more stamina in my legs, which I didn't have this year. So I think used right, it is really helpful for building that aerobic base, but it doesn't, got to get the balance right. And I think I definitely still ride somewhat frequently, depending on the time of year and weather. So definitely, I find it tops the mileage up for the week, your time, I guess, if you want a bit of extra fitness without hurting your legs. And the negative split, I really don't know what could happen tomorrow. It could go great and that could happen, but
it'd be a tough course to negative split on, I reckon.
Yeah, it will be. Probably actually the middle section, the fast section will be the fast. Will be the negative split section, the faster part of it. But it won't. I don't think the last 5K will be particularly quick.
My neighbour is a keen cyclist. Used to run, but she can't run anymore. So I've been cycling with her for the last, 6-7 years, I suppose, 2 or 3 times a week. So I guess that's a little bit of cross training there. The other thing I find that as I age too, that cycling is really good because it just takes that pressure off the legs. And but she's been in moon boots for the last 3 or 4 months, so it means that I've done all running, which so far hasn't ended in injury. So I'm just hoping that between now and 6 o'clock in the morning I don't get injured. So I think cross training can be really helpful here. In terms of negative splits, I'm with Clem. I'm a great fan of negative splitting. If anyone doesn't know what negative split means, it basically means that you run the second half of a race faster than the first half. It's not very easy to do when you're running 800s. I've tried. It's almost impossible to run a negative split running an 800, I've found. But my aim tomorrow would be to negative split. And if you look at, for example, Safan Hassan's half marathon in Sydney a couple of weeks ago, she ran 1:10 for the first half and 1:08 for the second half. Now I would say, had she run 1:08 in the first half, she probably would have been running 1:15 or even more in the second half. So I think the thing about negative splitting too is that I find it helps me get into my mind that I need to be conservative and not push myself too fast. I've heard a couple of theories around. One is this theory about banking some time early in the race, so you bank time before you start to slow down. And the other is that go hard early. Well, I'd say don't listen to that. I think that's crap. I've been running for over 60 years now, and I've found that any time I try to push too fast, too early, I always end up with a very terrible time, whether that's 10k, 5k, or a marathon, half marathon. So, but as I say, trying to run 800 metres negative split, I think is really hard to do. I don't know what Dan thinks.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think one of my PBs I ran was a negative split, but that was a very, very long time ago. But yeah, I think you're right in saying that. I mean, all the fast times in the world that I can think of, it's a 2-second positive. Like Radisha's world record, the world lead right now, it's pretty much that 2-second positive. So the first lap's 2 seconds, faster than the second. And I think that's good because that's getting out hard, but then obviously conserving a bit. And I think the hardest part of an 800 is the third 200. And I think that's the part where a lot of time is lost. So that explains that, 2-second positive, you might feel like you're running the same pace throughout the whole race, and your last 200 might be pretty similar to the others, but it's that third one where you tend to lose a bit of time. Yeah.
Probably got time for one more question. Keep going, Kate.
I've heard it said that marathons are more a race between the ears rather than the legs. Can you speak to that? Can you tell me any tips about, because I'm a novice, any tips about how to win that mental game at that 32k mark or whatever it is that hit wall?
I think for me personally, I think in my mind, from that 30k mark, I think that's where I get turned on. Almost just like I don't know, I think it's just something mentally I've always had, that in this first start of the race, I just always struggle. I seem to struggle, and in that second half, 12k of the race, I guess, I don't know, something just clicks, and I just feel so much better. So for me personally, I just try and just get through the first however many Ks, just whatever pace I'd be, aiming for, or just, again, being conservative. And then the last bit, just really grinding through, and just, and I've always been like that. I always just love negative splitting and just the feeling of finishing it out quick.
What are you thinking about towards the end? Anything? Are you counting your steps? Are you doing anything like that, or just running?
I'm mainly just focusing on pace, I think, and just really, just focusing on pace and just knowing that the end's soon. So just, reaching the end. But and I don't worry about, I let my heart rate go usually in that last maybe 5k even, and I just forget about the heart rate and just go.
So, positive encouragement. I always have some sort of mantra, some saying for the race, and I think about this in the taper week leading into it, about what my focus is for this particular race. So ones in the past have been run to be proud of yourself, like, you got this, you can do hard things, pain is temporary. Because the last half an hour sucks generally for everyone, no matter how fast or slow or who you are. It's just gritting it out and knowing it's worth it for that finish line feel.
I think a marathon's the last thing I want to do right now, so take this as you will. But I'll quote David Goggins. He treats it as like a cookie jar, I guess. So when you think you're done, your cookie jar's only 30% empty. So, I mean, you could treat those cookies as a kilometre. So when you think you're done and you've hit that wall, just take a cookie out at a time, just tick one off, one at a time. And I think just thinking about, because I know you have one coming up and you've done a lot of training for it, so just think of that as well when you're going through it. I mean, you put a lot into it, and like Annie said, that pain is temporary, but I think the second you get across that line, you'll feel so much better. And my mum ran one about 2 weeks ago actually as well, and that's what it was for her. Her goal was to just not walk at all. So she got that done, but she hit the wall pretty early because her goal was about a 4:30 originally, but up until about 30 Ks, she was on for a sub 4. So I think she got a little bit excited, but 30k onwards was a struggle, but she just thought back on all the Ks she's done. And I mean, she's felt that pain before. And really, you're only going to be there for, half an hour. So I think it'll be worth it when you cross the line.
Dan, you've also, in some of your 800s, you've had some crazy fast last laps. And sometimes, you're racing, you might be sitting in 5th or 6th, whatever, and then you go for the kick. Can you talk through the mental approach to racing an 800, particularly in those back stretches?
Yeah, I think an 800, it really depends on the day, I guess. You could have someone who you think's going to win, and the person who's ranked 8th could come out and win it. I think that last 200, if you get your positioning right, and I mean, you've treated the first 600 right, anything can really happen. Because I know the people that I'm racing, we're all a very similar speed. It's just our execution that really, is the difference there. But I'd say, making that kick at 200 to go, I think that's almost my favourite part in the run. Because I think the hard part's done. In your head, you sort of just, the pain's there, but I think the finish line's just so much closer. And I think, for me, it's just sort of responding to any moves that are made. I always misjudge, so does everyone. No one's ever going to have the perfect run. But I think, I've learned a lot through, especially last season as well. I think you said it pretty right there. The last 200's always just going to be pretty crazy. So that's what I sort of expect from an 800,
My approach is a bit different. Rather than talking positive to myself, I look at it as I'm going out there to really push myself every time I do a race, and particularly I'm a bit different to an 800, say a 100k run when you're going to be out there for 10 plus hours. It's a long time, and it's going to feel hard, and sometimes it feels hard really early, and you still got 50k to go. But that's kind of what I do it for. I do it for those moments, those hours when it's hard. I know it's, I guess that's when you learn a lot about yourself. Like David Goggins says, that's when you really learn everything about yourself. Those inner voices, and you want to stop, but you just keep going and you're going, and that's pretty much, I guess, that call it hurt, call it pain or suffering, whatever you want to call it. That's kind of why I do it, and I enjoy those moments.
So to push yourself when you're by yourself in the say 100Ks, there's often gaps between people out there or people running, and say tomorrow there might be gaps out there. You might not have a pack around you. You might be behind someone, in front of someone. What motivates you to keep pushing when you could just go, is it really worth it at this point? Do you get motivated by the competition around you? Is it the time? Is it sticking to a pace? What pushes you to...
Well, usually there's a goal time or pace, so it is kind of, with the watch, you're looking at the watch, trying to hold that pace, so it's not really, it's pretty much race against myself. It'd be nice to have other people to run with, to be honest. That's nice too. Maybe more in the half marathon. Marathon, there's going to be people to race, whereas the longer ones, it is very much you're pacing your own race. But I love a race too. So if there is a race gonna happen, I'm all for that, pushing yourself against other people too.
Yeah, and maybe that's an interesting point, because would you change that from the start to the finish of the race? For example, in some of the ones I've raced, where you go out and as if it's a 100k or even a marathon, you don't really care too much about the watch or your heart rate too much. Maybe you're doing a marathon, this might not be good advice, but then by the end, I think what I'm trying to say is you have an arbitrary number, which is a goal or a pace, and that's what's pushing you along. Do you find that? Because sometimes I find if you have the motivation of, I just want to catch up to this person, or I'm in front of this person, it doesn't matter, having an actual number can be something concrete to motivate you?
Yeah, most of the races I do, it is, I've got a time, a goal, and that's what's motivating me. And it is, tomorrow it's going to be hard. It's going to be towards the last 5k, the pace I want to hold is going to be, probably where my fitness is, it's going to be pretty hard. But that's what I'm doing it for. That's why I'm out there, to get to that limit and see if I can just stay at that limit for as long as I can. It could go bad, but you know, that's also a possibility. That's to push yourself to that limit, you are going to fail a few times. But when it goes well, it feels good at the finish line, that's for sure.
A few months ago, I read a really good way of analysing a marathon for your motivation, and that was that a marathon is 42.195 kilometres, and this said that you run the marathon this way. You run the first 30 kilometres with your legs, you run the next 10 kilometres with your head, you run the next 2 kilometres with your heart, and you run the final 195 metres with tears, which I think is pretty close to the truth. But in terms of motivating that last 10 kilometres or whatever, Kate, one of the things that I've heard, I haven't really tested this myself, but I can understand the philosophy or at least the psychology behind it, and that's to change the pronoun that you use. So instead of saying, I've got this, I can do this, or whatever, and I heard Annie saying this, is change that pronoun to, you've got this, you can do this. It's almost like this, that your own personal cheering fan on the side saying, you got this, rather than I got this, and I think I can understand the psychology behind that. So that would be my tip.
That's a good tip. Hopefully there's
Can I just say one thing while I've still got a mic? I might not have it back. I just want to say a big thank you to this gentleman down the end here, Keelan. Keelan's done a marvellous job of getting this running festival up and extra added to it and so on. But he's also, as probably Dan knows, you know, he's added in a whole lot of other races around the Coffs Coast area. I just think that for Keelan's one of the huge assets that running on the Coffs Coast has. So thank you, Keelan.
Great. We might wrap up there, but I just wanted to give a round of applause to at least 5 people for donating their time here this afternoon. Thank you. Very generous. It's just been fun, and yeah, good luck to all those racing tomorrow. And if you're not racing, enjoy it out there. We've got, just on the personal cheer squad thing that Bruce said, we do have some cheer squads out there. I've probably handed out more than 100 cowbells for free today. So, you know, there's 45 marshals out there within the full kind of 21 Ks of the track. So there should be a lot more cheering out there, a lot more noise than previous years, particularly around the jetty precinct. So yeah, hopefully that's a good motivation out there. We've tried to up some of the cheer squads out there. So yeah, thanks everyone, and all the best for tomorrow. Thanks everyone.